excellent way to scout. So we're now seeing the next step of Braddock's build. Barracks with a tech lab, followed by a barracks with a reactor and a ghost academy. And notice the timing on this. Notice that, I'll actually back this up a minute, or actually a little bit. Notice that his money is just now passing 150 gas. So here he is getting a ghost. Yeah, look, just past it. He has a little bit excess gas. We haven't talked about anything like the timing of the refineries, and of course that's intentional. Again, big broad strokes. Hey, cool, look at that delayed Reaper being able to scout up here, see everything that's up. A Stargate. Oh my goodness. Reaper sees all. Reaper knows all. See, look how great that was. Ever felt like you were in the dark as Terran? Hey, no problem, just get a delayed Reaper, scout up there, and you apparently can run in a big circle and escape with your life. But anyways, so what Braddock is going to be doing is just pretty much massing up a bunch of Marines. And when he gets the extra gas, you know, he makes the factory, he will be getting a combat shield upgrade in a little while, but when he has enough gas, he'll probably just be queuing up another ghost. And we get these ghosts really early on because EMP is great against Protoss. And we're not going to think about all the uses against Protoss yet. We're just going to note that, hey, EMP kills shields really well. Ain't that a miracle? And of course, as we're getting a little bit more gas, oh cool, look at this, getting a very fast starport as well. And the reason I selected this game first of the replay set that I have is that, oh, look at this, Protoss going for Warp Gate. Oh yes, and here's the Warp Gate. Not as done as it should be because the Protoss did mysteriously cancel the Stargate. But the rest of this is pretty basic by Protoss, the 4 Warp Gate technique, the building of the pylon here, especially on Steps of War. So, anytime we have a build, think of the most standard thing in the universe. If your build doesn't work against the most standard thing in the universe, it's probably bad. So, always a good benchmark to have. So yeah, just tons of Marines coming out, combat shield almost done, getting a medevac right away. Why the combat shield instead of the Stim Pack? It's an interesting question. I mean, we see the Stim Pack getting queued, and notice as we're broke on gas as Braddock, we just make more Marines. Absolutely no shame in making Marines from a barracks with a tech lab. Too often you'll see players who build a barracks with a tech lab, and they will just constantly make Marauders out of it, going, oh no, I can only make Marines out of an empty barracks or a reactor barracks. But of course, building the bunker at the front. And I'm actually going to come back, and I'm just going to leave this as a mystery. But notice that there's just enough space for a supply depot here and a supply depot here. Oh, very subtle, but of course, we're focusing on big strokes right now. Big, broad strokes. And the big, broad strokes I can see is barracks with tech lab, second barracks with a reactor and a ghost academy. And then we just get ghosts when we can afford them, get the factory when we can afford it, get the starport when we can afford it, and get these upgrades when we can afford it. And look at how passively Braddock's playing. He looks like he's establishing himself for a nice little timing push right when his command center is going to be popping out. But this is a pretty huge force. There will be an engineering bay coming down here for an upgrade later on, but I don't really care about that at this point. That's a little bit too far down the line. I'm just trying to understand this very interesting Ghost plus Medevac play. And uh-oh, here comes the big not Gravcon shield, Guardian shield. Oh, yep, gets all of them. And obviously this isn't the best play in the world by Braddock's opponent, but this was one of the early rounds, and of course you are playing against Braddock, so naturally there will be the good old fear in the heart. But it's sort of interesting that with this build we get relatively fast ghosts, and as a result we get a lot of energy. Notice that each of these ghosts almost has enough for 2 EMPs, which is pretty awesome. And then we're also getting these medevacs pretty quickly as well. And then we get an expansion reasonably quickly. And hey, look, combat shield's done. We're almost finished with our Stim. And Stim looks to be the signal point for when Braddock moves out. Pretty straightforward timing push. We move out when we have the upgrade that lets us be really, really, really aggressive. We held that off relatively easily. Oh, look, we're getting an add-on for this starport. But again, the big strokes that I would say is barracks with tech lab, barracks with reactor, and a ghost academy. And then get the starport when you can, get the combat shield when you can, get the Stim when you can, and get ghosts when you can. And obviously look at this absurd food differential, and Braddock just, you know, happily moves right in, and immediately wins the game. Pretty damn strong. And one thing to note, a lot of people seem not to know this fact, despite the fact that I say it a lot. The Marine does 6 damage, and a Marauder does 20 damage. Oh, 20 damage for a Marauder against an armored unit. So a lot of people just assume that the Marauders are the damage dealers. But in reality, a Marauder costs 100 minerals. 2 Marines cost 100 minerals. So let's compare 1 Marauder to 2 Marines. 2 Marines actually do damage to armored units faster than 1 Marauder deals damage to armored units. Because 2 Marines shoot so fast, right? Together they do 12 damage per shot, and they shoot almost twice as fast as a Marauder, about twice as fast. So that's basically like 24 damage compared to 20 damage for the Marauder. So in other words, Marines do ridiculous amounts of damage. So that's why in this composition, an early beta player, and in fact still many beta players, or should I say nobody right now because the beta's down, but too often players are looking at this and they go, it's a little bit of a weak army. This is actually an absolutely terrifying army. The damage output is absurd, and we also have this Ghost here that can eliminate all the Protoss shields. That is absolutely a significant edge to have with that composition. So I want to move on to some more games that Braddock played. So we are going to move on to this game on Kulas Ravine. Fantastic. So let's pop right into it. I think I was actually in this game at the start of it, if I recall correctly. So this is on Kulas Ravine. Completely different map from Steppes of War. Steppes of War, a very aggressive map where a whole bunch of crazy stuff can happen at the start of the game. But this is Kulas Ravine, where a whole bunch of crazy stuff can happen due to the terrain, right? We have these destructible rocks at our back. We kind of have a wide open front. We have an even wider open natural. And Braddock is going to basically do the same play. So let's see if our big stroke thought was correct. It was barracks with tech lab, then a barracks with reactor, and a ghost academy. And then it was a... losing my train of thought. So it was a barracks with a tech lab, barracks with a reactor, and then a ghost academy. And then it was get the starport when you can, and then get combat shield when you can, and get stim when you can. And in the meantime, be getting ghosts. We're going to pretty much see that this game, unsurprisingly. Because again, this is Braddock doing basically the same build in this matchup all 3 times. So first, what I want to point out, first let's zoom forward a little bit and see if our basic understanding was correct. So for instance, let's say that this is a replay pack that you have of Braddock. You watch game 1 and you say, oh cool, I saw him do this. And then you watch game 2 and you say, is he going to do the same thing again? So here's one Marine coming out. Oh cool, yeah, look, he's getting a Reaper right after that Marine. Oh, there's the barracks. Okay, and I bet that's going to have a reactor on it. Is a Ghost Academy going to be coming up in the back here? Oh, we also have a bunker. What about a Ghost Academy? There's a Ghost Academy. Okay, great. Cool. Alright, fancy. Oh yeah, look, there's the reactor going down. Double checking. I would imagine that a ghost is going to be coming out of here. Oh, it looks like he has 150 right now. So yep, there's the ghost coming out. Is combat shield going to be coming up here? Something that uses this 100 gas? Oh no, it looks like the factory is going to be what uses the 100 gas. And then this next 100 gas, what is that going to be spent on? Yeah, look, there's the combat shield. It's looking to be about the same thing. But what can never be bad, and what you absolutely should do, is when you notice that there's a pattern and that your big stroke thoughts are correct, rewatch the replay and start noting a few other little specifics. So one of those little specifics was a Marine, then the Tech Lab, and then a Reaper. I would call that a little bit specific. And another specific I want to note is when does that second gas go down? So let's open up our resource tab. Okay, this is a very easy way to study replays. Just get the big stuff out of the way first, and then sort of fill in the details. Because this is the wrong way to think about replays. The wrongest thing you can do is to start off and say, okay, he's building his supply depot at 11. And okay, he's building his barracks at 12. Okay, and his refinery at 13. And He's getting his orbital command at 15. Then he gets SCVs to 17. And then he makes a tech lab for his first marine. Then he makes a supply depot at like 18 and a half. Then he gets a second barracks at 22. It's like this linear list of insane details, and you're like, okay, I gotta back up. Okay, when is he getting this upgrade? Okay, well, he's getting, it looks like 31 and 5/8 food. Ooh, to hell with that. Just get the big broad strokes, and then you can improvise in a way that suits your style. So, for instance, if I were doing this, I'd be like, I want Stim early. I want to get in his face and punch him earlier on. I would absolutely sack Combat Shield and play with that and see how it felt. But now let's come back and get some specifics. I want another broad stroke, which is when the hell does that second gas go down? Because this is pretty gas heavy for a one base build. Already